You're watching Study with Sudhir and this is your digital classroom. We are looking at mineral-based industries, right? Now, before we get into the mineral-based industries, we've already learned about the importance of industry, the classification of industries, in which we briefly touched upon the iron and steel industry. Now, as part of your 2022 syllabus, you have the iron and steel industry, basically Tata Steel and Rourkela Steel plant, and petrochemical and electronics. Now, why is the mineral based industry so important? Now, this industry is pretty much the backbone of the industrial development of a country. Why is it important? Because it's the backbone of industrial development of the country. It provides the raw material for making industrial machinery, railway tracks, dams, bridges, automobiles, houses, the construction industry, the real estate industry. So all the raw material for that. For instance, if you have to build a house, right, you need to build the steps. How do you provide its strength? By steel pipes, by iron pipes, right? So all the raw material is produced for that. Similarly, when you buy a car or a truck or whatever, right, then it impacts industrialization and economic development of the country. It's the barometer. You know how developed a country is based on its basic manufacturing industry sector, right? So it's some kind of a report card in that sense. It employs a large number of people. These are like the big employment generators and contribute to the employment of the country. So 4 reasons, everything is given in the notes, but these are the 4 main points why the iron and steel industry is so important, and that's the iron and steel industry is like the backbone, the main thrust area as far as the manufacturing industry is concerned, right? Now, let's know a bit about the background of the iron and steel industry. You know this monument, right? This is the Qutub Minar, a fascinating looking monument in Delhi, in Mehrauli. In fact, one of my friends' houses, you can see the Qutub Minar. So in that sense, it's a great sight. And this is the iron pillar which is kept out there. Now, the iron pillar at the Qutub Minar shows that Indians knew the art of steel making since it dates back to the Gupta period, right? The first attempt to produce steel on modern lines was at Porto Nova in present-day Cuddalore district of Tamil Nadu. Cuddalore is along the coast of Tamil Nadu. In fact, one of the districts along with Nagapattinam which was devastated during the tsunami in 2004 December, right? But it closed down in 1866. So it did not go beyond 1866. So the first iron and steel factory was established in 1875 in a place called Kulti in Bengal. You just need to know this name, Kulti in Bengal. And it was called the Bengal Iron Work Company. Okay, all this I have written in the notes. But the real development, you have the Porto Nova in Cuddalore and you have the Kulti factory, but the real big name which actually came as far as the iron and steel industry in India was concerned was when this great man called Jamshedji Tata, okay, Jamshedpur named after him, Jamshedji Tata, known as the father of modern industrial India, okay. So he set up the Tata Iron and Steel Company in a place called Sakshi, now in Jamshedpur, in 1907. The production actually started in 1911, right? So this is all in pre-independent India, and he's called therefore the father of modern industrial India. So you need to know about Jamshedji Tata. And India today is the 5th largest crude steel producing country in the world. Now, let's now get to the 2 iron and steel companies about who you need to know as part of your syllabus. This is Tata Steel. It was known as Tata Iron and Steel Company, Tisco earlier company. And now it is known essentially as Tata Steel. That's how it's listed on the stock market also. Now, this is one of the largest manufacturing plants in Asia. This is in a place called Jamshedpur, which is in the state of Jharkhand. We have students from Jharkhand here, I know. So, how do you remember that? Tata Steel, JJ, Jamshedpur, Jharkhand. Okay, so if you just remember these 2 alphabets, you should be So, you should be good enough with that. Then the water supply is assured. Now, you need to know a lot of the reasons and the places from where different raw materials are sourced for different iron and steel plants. This will come as part of your examination. You will need to remember this, and I've already spoken about how it is important for you to have a map of India in your study room, because then you will be able to associate, okay, Rourkela is here, Jamshedpur is here, they get it from this part, say Mayurbhanj or Normandy, from different parts. So you'll be able to correlate in a physical, in a visual sense as to where different parts of the country are. In fact, the India map is right there in front of me out here. So now what happens is that the locational advantage that Jamshedpur has is that it is on the confluence, that is, it is where the rivers Kharkai and Subarneka, I've written it in the notes, Subarnarekha and Kharkai, Kharkai, they meet, and therefore water supply is assured, is taken care of. Water supply, one of the important needs of an iron and steel factory. Then we come to power supply. Power supply kahan se milta hai? Cheap hydroelectric power is supplied from the Damodar Valley Project, DVC. Damodar Valley Project company bhi ho sakta hai, but Damodar Valley, DV, is something which you need to know. So if you keep remembering these codes, you will be able to do that. Tata Steel, JJ, you can remember KS as in Kharkai and Subarnarekha for rivers, for water supply, power supply from DV, Damodar Valley Project. Okay, so that's how you need to remember. This will take some effort for you to, Then we get to, it makes high quality steel, Tata Steel, the locational advantages that we are speaking about. Then next we come to where do they get the coal? You need to generate power, right? So coal comes from Jharia and Bokaro coal fields, all in the same vicinity, right? So from Jharia and Bokaro, you get that, JB. Then you're talking about iron ore, which is like the main thing for an iron and steel plant. Iron ore comes from two different places, Singhbhum, which is in Jharkhand, and Mayurbhanj, which is in Odisha. Odisha, if you know the geography of India, Jharkhand is here, Odisha is below. Okay, Bihar is there. Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha. So Jharkhand and Odisha being neighboring states, so it gets its iron ore, the raw material, from Mayurbhanj, which is in Odisha, and Singhbhum, which is in Jharkhand itself. Then where does it get the manganese from? Manganese comes from Naumundi, which is in Jharkhand, and Keonjhar, which is in Orissa. You will need to remember all these names. So what you do is, when you're writing this in your own notes, manganese, I have not written it because I didn't want too much of matter written out here. You just write where all it comes from, and you need to remember this. Do it almost like a quiz every Sunday. Just sit with your sibling or any of your parents and say, just keep asking me at random between Rourkela and Tata Steel and see whether I'm able to recollect. 3-4 बारी कर दोगे, you will be able to remember all these things. Okay, so it's just a matter of being able to remember all these names. I am not saying ratta maro, but look at ways and means of remembering it. You can do this via a map. You can do this in terms of making a table of your own. Point number 3, making codes, so different ways in which your mind is able to process and recall later at the examination. Limestone and dolomite comes from Gangpur in Odisha and Singhbhum, okay, in Jharkhand. Then labor, where do you get the labor? Because you need it, as I said, it creates large employment, so you need large amount of labor. So you get it from Bihar, you get it from Jharkhand, you get it from Bengal, you get it from Orissa, you get it even from Uttar Pradesh, because all of them are close to each other, right? Then finally, the geographical factor about the locational factor about it, whether it's well connected by road, rail and port. So you have it, Kolkata seaport is close by, you have the rail and road network connecting different mineral areas to Jamshedpur. Okay, so that's as far as Tata Steel is concerned, and it produces high grade carbon steel, which is used in structural fittings, in plates, and acid steel, which is used to make railway wheels. So you see, anything which is like heavy duty, railways, automobile sector, construction sector, It makes special alloy steel which is used to make bulletproof armor plates, right? A lot of the bulletproof industry is actually based out of Punjab. Okay, I know quite a few of the manufacturers of those who make the bulletproof cars for VVIPs, right? It's also a very huge industry out there in Punjab. So they get their special alloy steel made from Tata Steel, right? So they get that and they use that in automobiles, right? So similarly for railway construction, bridges, etc., a lot of these things. So products which are made, I've written out in the notes. Please write it down in point format so that it's easy for you to remember as to in what places Tata Steel's steel is actually used. Okay, so that's as far as Tata Steel is concerned. Next we come to the Rourkela Steel Plant which is in Odisha. How do you remember? RO. RO ka pani yaad hai na? Hemalni ka. So Kent ka RO. So similarly here you remember RO. Rourkela, Odisha. Remember, do not get confused with the state. But as I said, if you keep looking at the maps, everything will be very easy. Okay, now this particular steel plant, now it looks quite a fascinating kind of a place to be in. Okay, now this particular place was developed with the help of Krups and Dimag. Okay, I have it in the next one. Krups and Dimag, this is a German firm, okay, which helped develop the Rourkela steel plant. Okay, we'll come to it in a bit. We'll first look at where it comes from. The iron ore for Rourkela steel plant comes from Bonaigad, Mayurbhanj, Keonjhar and Naumundi. Okay, so look at all the different places where the stuff is coming from. So from Bonaigad, Mayurbhanj, Keonjhar and Naumundi is where the iron ore is coming from. So BMKN, you can work out your own codes to remember this particular place. Okay, one way of doing it is that BMKN. Okay, Naumundi is in Jharkhand. Bharat Mata Ki Jai. But this will be, you need to remember that you need to write Naumundi in Jharkhand. Bharat Mata Ki Jai is one way of remembering the iron ore which comes for Rourkela. Okay, the second one is coal. Coal comes from Raniganj, Jharia and Talcher and Korba. These are the four places from where coal is procured as far as Rourkela steel plant is concerned. See, there is no way you need to remember all these places because question comes as to where this particular, say, dolomite comes for Rourkela plant or manganese comes for Tata Steel, right? Then you have limestone which comes from Birmitrapur, right, which is in Odisha. Dolomite comes from Baradwar, okay, which is in Chhattisgarh, again in neighboring state. Then you have manganese which comes from Naumundi. Okay, these places, if you just put it like this and you keep seeing it, you will be able to remember many of the places, right? Limestone, Birmitrapur. One way of doing it is now LB, LLB. You know, just think of ways in which you can actually work out different ways. Baradwar, Dolomite, BD, BAD kind of thing. You know, it's as I said, what the codes that may work for student A may not work for student B. So each one of you work out your own codes. It will just make it easier. Okay. Then the power for this particular plant comes from the Hirakud. Hirakud is on the river Mahanadi in Odisha. So the power comes from the Hirakud project. The water supply comes from the Sank river, right? There, you just remember that one was Kharkai and Subarnarekha. This one is from Sank river. Okay, do not get confused and put ulta sida. In fact, you are very lucky that you have to do only 2 steel projects. Earlier students have done Bhilai, Vishakhapatnam, right? So there are more iron steel plants, so more details that they needed to remember. Then it is on the Mumbai-Kolkata line. So in that sense, pretty well connected by rail, by road, and of course proximity to the Kolkata seaport as well, because Odisha and Bengal are neighboring states. Then what does it make? It makes heavy steel plates, it makes electrical steel plates, it makes steel for ISRO. What is ISRO? The Indian Space Research Organization that takes care of space research and satellites. So it makes a steel which is also used to make all the satellite launch vehicles, right, which are launched from Sriharikota. Okay, very fascinating place. Very fascinating place. I have been to Sriharikota during the launch of many of the rockets, the PSLVs, the GSLVs, the Mars mission. fascinating. Fascinating to actually see it going up. I mean, India, you feel proud of your scientists, right? I'll talk about it when we are talking about the electronic sector. Pipes for Mathura Petroleum Refinery. Okay, so you need to know all this. So with this, we come to the end of our first video as far as the mineral based industries is concerned. In the second video, we will talk about petrochemicals, and in the third video, we will talk about electronics. Okay, so that the entire agro based and mineral based industries, that entire unit will be finished with that. So I'll see you now in part 2 of the mineral based industries. Tata, bye bye. Okay, now we are on video number 2 of the mineral based industries. We have already dealt with the iron and steel industry, looked at both at Tata Steel as well as at the Rourkela Steel plant in Odisha. Now let's look at the world of petrochemicals. So first you need to know what exactly is petrochemical, right? What exactly are petrochemicals? Now petrochemicals is the definition you would do well to remember. They're important organic chemicals derived from petroleum products, LPG and coal. Okay, so from these three areas, petroleum products, LPG and coal, they are organic chemicals which are made. So they are called petrochemicals. When did they start in India? In the 1960s. So we are talking of over 50 years. What does the industry need? Location proximity to an oil refinery. This is one of the fundamental requirements of the petrochemical industry, and you will know why when we give examples of that. So they started in the 1960s when the first petrochemical complex was set up in Trombay via Union Carbide. Union Carbide, which infamously had the Bhopal gas tragedy in 1984 December, right? So they've set up the first petrochemical plant. Nosil set up a plant in Mumbai in 1968 and Udex plant in Vadodara in 1969. So we are talking of over 50 years. So these are the first three plants which are set up. See, this part of geography is about a lot of details, right? A lot of factoids. So you would need to remember this. So you need to kind of read it many times, develop your own notes in your own handwriting, right? Write it in different color pens so that it becomes easy to kind of establish it as part of your visual memory, right? So that you will remember, right side top, I had written this particular name. Okay, geography is unfortunately a lot of tedious kind of detailing. What I said about location proximity to an oil refinery, because only then it will get the supply of naphtha or ethylene or benzene. These three things, naphtha, ethylene or benzene, NEB, is things, these three elements they would need for a petrochemical plant, and that is necessary for the manufacture of synthetic fibers, synthetic rubbers, ferrous and non-ferrous metals, plastics, drugs, pharmaceuticals, dyestuffs, etc. So for all these needs, they would need all these elements. So therefore, look, जितना पास वो oil refinery से रहेगा, उतना फायदेमंद रहेगा pharmaceutical plant, petrochemical plant के लिए. Pharmaceutical तो दूसरा हो गया. Okay. Now, what does this industry essentially produce? Okay, what does the petrochemical industry produce? Fertilizers and insecticides, right, which is used in agriculture. So which is why, if you remember the earlier videos on agrochemicals, agro industries, agro based industries, there is always a lot of synergy between the mineral based industries and the manufacturing industries rather, and the agricultural industry. If the manufacturing industries were not there, the agricultural industry will suffer because they would not have access to both fertilizers as well as insecticides. Then you have resins and adhesives, right, which are again important components of any kind of manufacturing industry. Then you have the plastic sheets, which are consumer oriented stuff. Then you have carbon black, which is used in printing inks, पेंट्स, ग्रामाफोन रिकॉर्ड्स, कार्बन पेपर आपके जमाने में मेरे ख्याल से किसी ने देखा भी नहीं होगा. You wouldn't have seen a carbon paper, but these are all things which we used when we were growing up. Okay, so what happens is that essentially a primary product like ammonia का formula मालूम है ना, ammonia transforms into fertilizers, right? Propylene becomes acrylic fibers, right? Ethylene becomes plastic pipes. Benzene becomes plastic toys. Plastic toys you would be familiar with. Plastic pipes. If you saw the construction which happened, like for instance my house, it is over 20 years old. At that time, all the pipe fittings which were used by the builder were all iron pipes. Now, what happens is that over a period of time, the iron pipes get rusted, right? So, even if there is a tiny hole, water seepage will happen and that will lead to all kind of problems. So, we had to break down the entire washroom, and then those iron pipes were replaced by PVC pipes. PVC pipes is what we are talking about here as part of the petrochemical industry. So, the PVC pipes are seen as pipes which will be more durable, more long lasting, wouldn't rust obviously. So, in that sense, and less heavy, because iron and steel, those pipes, steel pipes are all very heavy, right? So, that wouldn't be the case with the PVC pipes. So, which is why more and more people are embracing these kind of goods, because they are seen as more consumer friendly, right? So, that's what is happening. And a lot of these companies, like you have the Phenolix cables, you have the Astral pipes, which are all like, big companies now in this particular sector, looking at household goods like what I just now mentioned. Now, what are the advantages of the petrochemical products? So, one, of course, as I said, they're cheaper, durable, they are lighter, and they also lead to large scale employments, and the raw material is easily available. The raw material is easily available, and it's not dependent on agricultural seasons. ऐसा नहीं है कि only summer, like in sugarcane we saw, the crushing season is short, so only during a particular time that sugar is produced. It's not like that, right? So the raw material is easily available if you are close to an oil refinery, and that's why you are seeing that a lot of places, if you see even dining tables, if you buy, people don't buy the typical wood dining table anymore. People buy things which are having an element of synthetic and those kind of PVC related elements which are mixed out there, right? And they of course contribute to the national income. So what has changed? So earlier we would have leather footwear, chappal, leather ki. Now you're having plastic chappals or synthetic footwear, right? If you see footwear which don't break, you can use them for years and years, right? As opposed to a leather, this thing which would kind of, either there will be wear and tear and stuff like that, right? Then you have natural rubber replaced by synthetic rubber. Natural rubber is the rubber which you get out of trees, especially in districts like Kottayam in Kerala. Those from Kerala would be familiar. You put that thing on the middle of the rubber tree, and you let that sap come out. A very fascinating thing. You should all see tea gardens, coffee plantations, rubber plantations are all things which you must visit, because these are all very educational kind of trips. So rubber, natural rubber replaced by synthetic rubber. Steel pipes, which I just now mentioned, replaced by PVC pipes. Then you have steel utensils, the way we use in a kitchen, now replaced by plastic vessels. पहले वो steel का घड़ा use करते थे पानी के लिए. Okay, even in the blue bead, the gurras that she lost, I think they must have been made of some metal. But now you are all having plastic pipes. Those in Tamil Nadu, etc., would be familiar with those long lines of colorful pots which are there outside public street drinking water for collection of water. Then cloth and jute bags replaced by plastic bags. Of course, this is not environment friendly, which is a major environment hazard, about which we will read about in the waste management chapter. So, but nevertheless, this has happened. So, there is an attempt being made to control the use of plastic bags right now, which is why in shopping malls, etc., you see, they tell you that you bring your own cloth or jute bags. So, there is an attempt to go back to this, right? Because this is not environment friendly. Plastic is a huge problem. It is a huge problem in today's day and age, which is what brings us to the next topic, which is plastic. Okay. The world of plastic, and I thought this photograph really represents it. The world inside a plastic bag and kind of suffocating, right? वो some movies में भी होता है ना, Baby में there was a scene of Akshay Kumar where he kind of puts the plastic thing around the man, right, in order to suffocate him. Recently I saw it. Okay, I saw it in a web series. So this I thought was a very strong and a very evocative kind of photograph. The world of plastic, right? The world being represented and plastic also being represented, and what plastic is doing to our world. Now, it is considered one of the greatest inventions, right? In recent times, even though there are obviously a lot of negatives. It was created by a scientist called Alexander Parkes. Okay, I've written it in the notes. He was a British chemist in the 1850s. Okay, so 1850s is when plastic was kind of invented. He created a plastic called Parkesine. Okay, P-A-R-K-E-S-I-N-E. I don't know if I've written it in the notes. Okay. This is another beautiful photograph, I thought, full plastic in water, and she's like, it's as though she's swimming in a world of plastic. Okay, so Parkesine in the 1850s by Alexander Parkes, he made the first man-made plastic, which was Parkesine. But the term was coined, the term plastic was coined by Leo Baekeland, and he invented the world's fully synthetic plastic called Bakelite, right, in New York in 1907. So, आपको ये दोनों details याद रखना पड़ेगा. Okay, so it is considered one of the greatest inventions despite all the environmental hazards in today's day and age. Parkesine in the 1850s, Bakelite in 1907 in New York. This was by a British chemist. You will need to know the names of the two scientists and the years in which these two were discovered, and the term plastic was around the same time by Leo Baekeland. Now, plastic's big advantage is that it is light, it's cheaper, it's durable, and comes in attractive colors. And different kinds of plastics include PVC, polythene, vinyl, synthetic rubber, right? Now, again, we come back to the fundamental question that where do you set up the petrochemical units, right? What is the first thing that I told you? The proximity to an oil refinery. Okay, so jitna paas ek oil refinery hoga, utna hi faydemand hoga for a petrochemical unit. The world of petrochemicals, location depends on presence of petroleum refinery, port and market. Port and market because for export and stuff like that, so that you can reach your market first. So the first one, petroleum refinery, ensures your raw material availability and transportation would be cheaper because if it is close by, and export of final product to foreign market again depends on the port and the markets. Again, if the market is not very far off, it ensures that your transportation costs are much cheaper. So your return on investment that I spoke about earlier will be lesser. Okay, more. Which are the big production units? The big production units, you have the Reliance one in Gujarat, you have NOSIL, you have Haldia Petrochemicals, you have Indian Petrochemical Corporation and Herdilia Chemicals. This one is in Tamil Nadu. Okay, Haldia is in Bengal, Indian Petrochemical Corporation is in Vadodara in Gujarat, right? So, this is as far as the entire petrochemical part of your mineral-based industries is concerned. In part 3, we will look at electronics. Okay, the world of electronics. So, I'll see you now in part 3 of the mineral-based industries chapter. Thank you very much for watching. Okay, now we are on part 3 in which we will deal with the world of electronics, right? So, mineral-based industry and electronics. We've already dealt with petrochemicals in video number 2 and the iron and steel industry in video number 1. Okay, so let's move ahead. This is the world, fascinating and intricate world of electronics. Okay, so what are the factoids that you need to know about? Now, it is responsible for all modern day white goods. What are the white goods? From the television to the washing machine to the laptop to the mobile phone, everything is the result of high-tech electronics. Okay, also in the world of defense, because even for defense equipment, you need to use electronics. Medicine, whether it is your X-ray machine, whether it is your ultrasound or any kind of machine that you used in the world of medicine has a link to the world of electronics. Space technology, very important, because every component that is used in your PSLV or GSLV or the Mars mission or Chandrayaan, everything is a work of electronics, precise electronics. So just look at how fascinating it is. And in fact, earlier I said, no, I will speak about, I'd spent, before the Mars mission took off, right, I had spent 2 days at the ISRO headquarters in Bengaluru. I must consider one of the most fascinating days I have ever spent in the company of eminent scientists, Dr. Radhakrishnan, Professor U.R. Rao, you name it, brilliant minds. And I came back feeling so enriched and so much more knowledgeable about how, such a distance you are able to precisely put it in orbit. I think it's fascinating. If you ever get an opportunity to do something like this, space research is a fascinating place to be in, if for those who have that kind of aptitude, right? So this is something. And of course, Sriharikota, if you ever get a chance to visit, again a very fascinating place, the Satish Dhawan Launch Center, from where the PSLVs and the GSLVs put our satellites in orbit, right? Bengaluru is known as the electronics capital of India. It's also known as the IT capital of India. It houses the Indian Telephone Industries, ITI, the Bharat Electronics, BEL, and also Hindustan Machine Tools, HMT. Earlier you had the HMT ki ghadi, right? These are which are the different major electronics corporations, companies in India and more. Okay, so you have ITI, the telephone industries, BEL. Let's go about it in detail. Now, ITI was the Indian Telephone Industries, the first government undertaking to be established in 1950. A lot of detail, I can understand, it can get a little boring, but if you just look at it, just write down in points. ITI, Indian Telephone Industries, first government undertaking, 1950. What does it make? As the name suggests, it makes automatic telephone. Now, a lot of it may not be relevant in today's day and age, but in the 1960s, 50s, 70s, 80s, 90s also, till cell phones took over, these were very important, because earlier, if you speak to your grandparents, right, even your parents may not really remember, but your grandparents, if you had to make a phone call to some place from, say, Delhi to Bengaluru, you had to book an STD call, or you have to make an STD call. Before that, you had to book a trunk call, right? So you need to make a trunk call, and it would be metered, and it could also get very expensive. No longer everything is now very cheap and almost free. So it manufactures automatic telephone switching systems, electronic test equipments, long distance transmission. It has units in Palakkad, in Srinagar, in Raebareli in UP, Palakkad in Kerala, Electricity Board, Defense. So it kind of, in the world of communication, ITI is an important name. Then we come to Bharat Electronics Limited. It was established in 1956. So you see, all this is getting established in the first decade after independence. And that was the time when India was kind of trying to launch itself and set up these public sector units, saying that, our focus is for the common man and woman of India, of newly independent India. And that was what the thrust was at that point in time. So BEL plays an important role in Met Department, meteorological, weather forecasting, radio broadcasting, All India Radio, which was established at that time, subsequently Doordarshan, also located in Hyderabad, in Chennai, Pune and Ghaziabad, also in addition to Bengaluru. Then you have the ECIL, which is in Hyderabad. It makes the systems for nuclear and medical applications. It also manufactures the electronic voting machines, which are used in elections in India, right? It was established in Hyderabad in 1970. Then you have the Central Electronics Limited, okay, in Saibabad. It also used in the field of space technology. Then you have ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, right, in Bengaluru and in Sriharikota, responsible for all satellite launches, Mangalyaan, Chandrayaan, etc. Then you have the NRSA, which is also in Hyderabad, in Secunderabad. Basically remote sensing is a means to acquire information about objects from the measurements made from a distance without any contact with the object, right? So from remote sensing, you're able to locate a particular object, and then you're able to measure the distance even though you're not in contact with the object at all. Okay, and how do you do that? This is done with the help of sensors. Sensors are what? Again, going back to the world of electronics, right? So they are able to collect data, sensors की help से they're able to collect data and then interpret it to gather information about the earth. So whether it is NGRI or NRSA, they're basically interested in how the earth is, right? So about more and more information about the earth, which will actually help in the world of agriculture, in the world of weather forecasting, different kinds of needs. It can be tailor-made, that data can be interpreted, and the data can be interpreted with the help of these sensors, which will establish this kind of a contactless contact with the particular object. So in that sense, India is now, thanks to the establishment of all these different companies over the last 70 odd years, is a software superpower. Of course, the IT companies have taken it to the next level, but the basic seed was sown by these kind of companies. And today you have Indians heading Google, IBM, Microsoft, right? So and much of the work is done in cities like Bengaluru, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, the national capital region. So all of them developing, and the Indian workforce, the young IT workforce, is really kind of propelling India to newer heights. So that's as far as the entire manufacturing industry, the mineral based industry. So we have covered the entire industries thing. 4 videos for agro based, 3 videos for mineral based. So in 7 videos, we have covered the entire thing. There's a lot of detail which you need to focus on, but I hope you've essentially got the gist of what is the importance of all these industries as far as the development of a nation is concerned. Thank you very much for watching.